Okay, so let's move on to the next section called needs. So I've just asked you to write down a situation and the feelings. And for the past few minutes, I've been talking over and over again about how feelings are this really important communication that's coming from the unconscious part of the brain to the conscious part of the brain. Communication, communication, communication. So if feelings are this important internal communication, what is it that they're communicating? What is this communication about? And so here we go. A 3, a 2, a 1. Needs. Needs. Needs, needs, needs. Now, a human being has needs to survive, and this is what we're usually taught. Needs to survive. So food, air, shelter, water, that sort of thing. And I believe that it's incomplete. Again, this is so incomplete because a human being doesn't only have needs to survive. A human being, every human being, has a need to thrive. And the unconscious part of our brain knows about this need to thrive. And the needs that we have to thrive as human beings look like this. Look at this list. There's some amazing needs in here. To think that every single human being on this planet has a need for meaning and purpose. Or let's pick something else. Every human being on the planet has a need for compassion and empathy. Every human being on the planet has a need for contribution, or for safety, or for dreams and goals, or for ease, or for clarity and understanding. I find it so amazing. Like I get so excited about this because this is our common human core. The fact that we all share these needs to survive and to thrive, and we experience feelings as our communication of the state of those needs, how met or unmet they are. And so we're so much alike, regardless of where we're from, how old we are, what we do in the world, what gender we are. We all share this common core of our needs to survive, our needs to thrive, and the experience of feelings as the communication within ourselves of those needs being met or unmet. So consider that the part of the brain that we're unconscious of communicates through physical sensation, through our central nervous system, to bring something to our conscious attention. And this something will always, 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 always be about our needs. This is what this communication is all about. And so here, let's map this out. I like to call this direct somatic communication. And the word somatic, all that means is of the body. So this is direct communication that's coming from our body, from our experience as we're moving about life. So if I'm experiencing a pleasant feeling, oh, that feels nice, yay, then this is the unconscious part of my brain letting me know, hey, conscious you, a need just got met. Awesome. And so why would your brain want you to know when you have a need met? It's a good question. So imagine that you're going over to a friend's house, you arrive at their door, and they told you they've been cooking up a storm all day. And so they emerge from their kitchen, they greet you at their door, and right away they have a spoon of food in their hand, and they just bloop, put it in your mouth. And you're like, oh my goodness, that's delicious. What's your next question? What is that? And so the reason that the brain wants you to know that a need has gotten met is because it wants to know how you might be able to get that need met again in the future. It wants to know what your strategy was. What did you do? What did you do that got this need met so awesomely? So when we have this signal, this pleasant feeling letting us know, hey, a need just got met, I go, ooh, what did I do? What just happened? And this now serves me in the future. Consider that the unconscious part of the brain puts that in the database. It sends it so that we can utilize that strategy in the future. Now, what about an unpleasant feeling? Oh, this feels very uncomfortable in my body. This is your unconscious brain letting you know, hey, hey, there's a need that's not getting met here, maybe multiple needs, and we need some attention on that, please. Like, let's get some attention. We need some attention on this need that's not getting met. And it's asking us to notice. It's asking us to brainstorm, to strategize, like, what are you going to do about this need that's unmet? And this is really, really useful communication. And this is a large part of why I say all needs are communicating to us through feelings, and those feelings, whether they're pleasant, whether they're unpleasant, are valid. All feelings, regardless of pleasant or unpleasant, are valid because they're useful communication. They're just communicating to us what the state of us is. So let's match some of these together. I think that for the most part, there's certain feelings that we have figured out, kind of, and we have figured them out, but not so pointedly, so to speak. So let's bring them up very pointedly here. So if I'm experiencing feeling bored, is that pleasant or is that unpleasant? I think it's an unpleasant feeling for me. So I'm taking a look at what need is it that's not getting met, that's producing this unpleasant feeling of boredom, so that I can maybe strategize to get it met. And maybe it's something like stimulation. Maybe it's something like fun and play. Notice that it's like within a certain neighborhood of needs. So this is the communication coming forth. Now let's do confused. If I'm feeling confused, I'm like, like what's going on? This is my body's way of communicating to me my need for clarity or understanding. Again, we have a sense of kind of the neighborhood of needs that it's in. Now, what about stressed? What need might be asking for my attention there? And notice that this one gets a little bit more complex. We're not quite sure. This could really be just about any need a human being has. And notice how much we use this word. I'm stressed. Sometimes we do this with anxious. I'm anxious. And so when we are utilizing words like this that are very general, stressed, anxious, bad, we lack the nuance. We lack the specificity to really know what's happening underneath, to really identify the need that is speaking to us. So all feelings are useful communication, and the more specific we can get with those feelings, the clearer the communication will be for us. So now let's take a moment to reflect on that. Go ahead and take out your journal again, and I have a question for you. What did you learn about needs growing up? What was present there? What was going on? So notice that a lot of times we're sent mixed messages. It was the case with feelings, sometimes a lot of mixed messages, and with needs as well. Needs are often not spoken about very directly growing up. At least that was my experience. I'm curious about yours. Some things that I've heard a lot of people share about what they learned about needs were, that needs are bad or shameful, or don't be so needy. This idea that it's important to put other people's needs first. That if we're to take care of our own needs first, that's selfish. And this also can sometimes come up with the idea of self-care, the idea that self-care is selfish. Sometimes it's challenging for us to engage in self-care because there's a certain guilt that starts coming up from the belief that it's selfish to do so, that we don't deserve that we shouldn't do that we should focus on others instead. And notice within our community, within our culture, within society, what does it mean to be a good person? Put little quotes on that. It's like, how do you define a good person? But notice that in terms of society, here's what it might mean to be a good person. If you are a good parent, you'll put your kids' needs first. If you're a good partner, you'll put your partner's needs first. If you're a good employee, you put the company's needs first. And if you're a good citizen, you put the country's needs first. Now notice this messaging. This messaging is saying, if you want to be a good person, and side note, I believe that all human beings have this desire to be good, to be right, however you define that. But we have that innate need. And so society tells us, if you want to be this good person, what that means is you need to put yourself second, third, fourth, fifth, if not completely last. This idea that if you're a good person, you give, and you give, and you give, and you give. And if you have something left, you give that too. And so we want to really start noticing this pattern, really start noticing, what is it like for me when I put myself last? And is that really effective for me? Does that help me contribute in the way that I want to be contributing to the world around me? Does that experience that I'm going through in that process, is that the experience of life that I want to be going through? So I'll give you some time. Go ahead and reflect on that a little bit more.